With the coming of Bird and Magic, did a previously lackluster NBA change its marketing strategy to focus on players and individual personalities?
Well, the league began to understand to a greater extent than it ever had that individual players had to be marketed. Now remember, before this, there were the Celtics and the 76ers playing head-to-head in playoff games almost every year. But it was even marketed then in many respects as Russell versus Chamberlain. Sure. And but we've taken this to another level, and in the beginning of the 80s, we had this phenomenon of Magic Johnson on the West Coast and Larry Bird on the East Coast, Boston versus Los Angeles, and this was a match made in heaven.
Was it their matchup? Was it that one was black, that one was white?
The attraction of black versus white absolutely did play into it, but the players were so good, and they were such team players, Magic and Bird, and they could do such extraordinary things with passing the ball that they became such great entertainment. And they both lifted the level of their teams.
So isn't it ironic that these two great team players helped breathe life into the NBA because of the focus on them individually?
Well, you need, a great movie. I mean, if you see Casablanca, and it's a great movie with a great story, but there's Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman, which enhance, the glory of the movie. And but Magic and Bird also were very good with the press, which is also very important. And they understood the needs of the press, Magic particularly. And you would go to their lockers after a game, and they would invariably give you good, insightful stuff. And then, of course, there was television. But for the print media, which I'm a part of, we love those guys.
Was it Bird and Magic that brought the NBA back to the front pages of the newspaper? Because as I recall, at the time they started to play ball, the NBA was in trouble. I mean, we had drug problems, we had reruns of the games, really a lot of problems in the industry.
Right. Well, before Bird and Magic came and really just sparked things, there was a dullness to the NBA, and the drugs and was a major part of it. You see them almost every day. Some NBA player was being busted for drugs, and it just and crowds were getting low, and there wasn't television participation or viewership wasn't great. And these two guys really just came and revolutionized everything. This is not news, but it's remarkable still to look back and to contemplate and to see what these two guys are and the respect that they had for each other and the respect that they had for opposing teams. People don't realize that Bird was a great trash talker, but he didn't do it out in public. I mean, he would just antagonize the opponents, but in almost a graceful way, except one time he was antagonizing Julius Erving, who was at the end of his career, and Julius Erving went for Bird's throat. But beyond that, Larry did it in a quiet manner, but effective manner. He also would ride his own players. He would trash talk his own players, and to raise them to higher levels, he was always on
Danny Ainge.
Danny Ainge, and he was and McHale. Yeah. He was on McHale a lot.
This excerpt is brought to you by the Massachusetts School of Law, the leader of reform in legal education and a leader in multimedia education for the public. To view the full interview and for a full listing of MSL's programs, log on to mslaw.edu.